How many delays did y'all go through this weekend? A Brazilian? Welcome back to Motorsport 101.
Ooh, choices. Which one will be the intro? Which one will I put in as a post-credit scene? Listen in to find out. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 646 of Motorsport 101. I'm your friendly neighborhood host, Dre Harrison, and RJ O'Connell is a stinker. But you probably knew that already. This was clearly a case this weekend of one racetrack respecting the bumps and the other one very much not, depending on who you ask and where you were racing this past weekend. Because this is a little bit of like a 1.5 podcast special, I guess you could say.
The 60-40. Both races we were primarily paying attention to. We could even throw in Darlington there because that racing service is famously ruined. But it does produce good racing.
Hey, also shout out Nürburgring Nordschleife. I mean, that's not a healthy looking surface either. And I know there was a lot of attention going on there.
Yeah, there was. Max Verstappen won on NLS debut until he very suddenly didn't.
Now, it was important to note that where I was this past weekend, I just needed everybody to make sure that starting Friday and going to the end of the race Saturday, every team is allowed 11 sets of tires. Not 10, not 12, not 13, 11.
Or in this case, 7 in the case of the Nürburgring, because that's how many sets of tires that Max Verstappen used when they were only allowed to use 6. No wonder they
don't you do it.
I'm not doing
no. We can make a 7-11 joke there and a 6-7, or rather a 7-6 joke for Sebring, because every day is a good day when you love and cherish Lauren Heinrich.
It's so much fun. We might have some time to. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but of course, the main event is the MotoGP Brazilian Grand Prix. We have a bit to talk about, from Marco Bezzecchi's dominating performance to the state of the circuit itself as MotoGP returned to Brazil for the first time in over 2 decades. And let's just say things didn't go according to plan. But first, Ray, why don't you tell the folks where all the other places you can find us?
They're RJ O'Connell and Cam Buckley, by the way, before I had my intro segment hijacked by these rapscallions. But
I would never reel off places you can find us.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Like motorsport101.com for all blogs from Dre, including every previous podcast episode, every Rate the Race, etc., etc.
More or less, yeah. You can also find us on youtube.com/motorsport101, facebook.com/motorsport101, or on Twitter at motorsport_101. If you want to follow our personal handles, you can do so at Dre Harrison, RJ O'Connell, and C Buckley 917. Yank out the vowels at bluesky.social. You can follow us on Instagram. Whose phone was that?
It was not mine for once.
That one was me, dude. I had no idea the Instagram audio was on that time. That's okay. You can clip that. You can clip that.
RJ is exuding more main character energy than Kevin Estra right now.
Such a little shit. We're on Instagram at Motorsport101 Pod. We're on TikTok at M101_podcast. If you want to see video highlights of the show and bonus content from yours truly. And if you really, really like us, you can back us financially on Patreon, patreon.com/Motorsport101. You can get in there for $5 to get early access to all the episodes of the show. You can upgrade to the $10 tier to listen to these episodes live as they're being recorded, as Raptor, Kira, Vic, and Max, and Jason are all doing right now. Busy room tonight, I must say. Thank you very much for listening along. They're all only in here because Discord, at the time of recording, is not working properly. Isn't that convenient? Hey, all the better for their presence being here. Right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty and talk about the first of 2 bumpy race courses for the weekend, Guyana and the 2026 Brazilian Grand Prix.
We are back in Brazil for the first time in over 2 decades since MotoGP last held a race at the old Chacarepagua circuit in Rio de Janeiro, which no longer exists due to works on the World Cup and the Summer Olympics in the mid-2010s. But we've returned to Goiânia, Brazil, home of the Autodromo Internacional Ayrton Senna, which last hosted a MotoGP round in the late 80s, returning in 2026. And we got a little bit to talk about. Let's start with the racing. I mean, Fabio Di Giannantonio took his first pole position since Mugello in 2022, but he lost out on taking his first sprint win as Marc Marquez capitalized on an error at the penultimate corner to take victory with a lap and change to go. Stop me if you heard this before. With it, Marquez took his record-tying 16th career sprint victory. And in the Grand Prix, stop us if you heard this one before, Aprilia's Marco Bezzecchi dominated from start to finish, taking a Grand Slam victory in Brazil. It means Bezzecchi's now become just the 5th rider to win 4 races in a row in the modern MotoGP era, and he has led, and I can't believe we're going to say this, an on-brand 101 Grand Prix laps in a row. Yeah! Yeah!
Excellent.
Even better, Jorge Martin completes an Aprilia 1-2, manufacturer's first 1-2 for the factory since 2023. It means Bezzecchi leads the championship for the first time ever. Fabio Di Giannantonio restored Ducati's podium streak to 1 after taking advantage of a late Marquez mistake to take 3rd place. Bit to talk about here. Obviously, Aprilia's results, a 1-2 finish in the Grand Prix. It's not just that Bezzecchi won the race, putting belt to ass all Sunday when we got racing. Put a pin in that. Jorge Martin was second, starting to come good just as he was wanting to leave. But I mean, Trey, is Aprilia here at last?
I need to see a little bit more, but this is comfortably the most promising sign yet that Aprilia has something here. As mentioned, Marco Bezzecchi has fit Aprilia like a glove pretty much since halfway through last year. It's not a huge shock that he won this Grand Prix. We knew going in that Aprilia was going to have that same harder, stiffer rear tyre casing that they brought in Thailand that gave them such a dominant advantage there. So when it came down to the Grand Prix, and the fact it was also really, really hot, so again, we'll talk about that a little bit more later, Bez, if in race trim, is just so hard to beat right now that he will rip off a 1.5 second lead when he's got that confidence to set the pace of a race, and then you can't touch him. Jorge Martin tried for about 2/3 of that race, and he was matching Bez on terms of raw speed, but in that final third, Martin just didn't have an answer, and that's how they got pushed out to about 3 seconds in the end, rather than 1.5, 1.8 roughly. I mean, how else can you argue with a Grand Slam victory? And I think it was the first Aprilia factory 1-2 since Catalunya 23, that famous day when Aleix Espargaro and Maverick was now arguably Aprilia's greatest day in Grand Prix motorcycle racing. They celebrated like they just won a championship that day. There was not a dry eye in the house that day, even though we nearly lost Pecco Bagnaia like half an hour earlier. Who knew? But it was a
isn't that ironic? Read the tea leaves. Read the tea leaves about the Massimo Rivola's home of troubled Italians.
That's a great line.
Yeah, that line came out of the Paddock Pass Discord, and you couldn't say it better. Couldn't say it better ourselves.
It's a great line.
Yeah, pretty much echoing everything Dre said. I mean, yeah, Bez got to the front, Bez pulled the gap, and then no one could do enough damage to that gap to ever put him under pressure, really. Jorge Martin back on the podium, first time since his last race in violet and white, but red.
Yeah.
It's been a while coming.
24 Solidarity Grand Prix back in Catalonia. That was 490 days ago.
Yeah. Remember, he basically just had no 2025 season. It was just like, it was cameo appearances at best. Very great.
No good ones either.
Yeah.
You forget this is only his 9th Grand Prix weekend on an Aprilia, officially.
This is the guy, we forget, this is the guy who won the 2024 MotoGP World Championship straight up.
Yeah. No,
he hasn't been here for a while. As a customer, as factory a customer as you can get, but still a customer. But yeah, the big question mark over it, and I suppose what kind of fires us off towards Coda is that we go to Coda. One, can Marc Marquez actually win a race at one of his best Grand Prix tracks? Because he keeps almost and then not winning, usually of his own volition.
No, he has not won at Austin since 2021. It's been 5 years now since Marquez has got 6 wins at COTA. He won the first 6 times he showed up there. And since 2021, he's not won at his supposed second best track. Funny.
Yeah. He was on course for the victory last year until he very suddenly wasn't.
But not before he had to make sure he had to run back to the garage, because I think he forgot something on the grid.
Yeah. Second bike, run. But yeah.
Still an incredible pole lap. But the question mark becomes when we take the stiffer, the heat-treated rear tire off of the bikes and put the standard rear tire on, that stiffer rear tire casing nerfs Ducati. They make their lap time via the rear tire. And I mean, Mark spoke about it at length this weekend that he just lacks confidence in the early laps. Trying to not get that rear to then push the front and tuck the front, as we saw with other Ducati riders. More on them in a minute. So we got to wait and see. But you'd rather take 2 wins from 2 than not.
If nothing else, when the opportunity presents itself, you take it. And Bez is, besides the sprint in Thailand's barely put a foot wrong since then. Was a little bit slow in the sprint. I don't think Aprilia likes the sprint where they have to push 100% right from the off. I don't think they like being pushed out of their comfort zone a little bit. But
and I think on race pace, they took a step from the sprint. I think they were able to apply some learning from the sprint and were much better on Sunday. And again, the heat in the track, it was hot as hell here on Sunday.
56 degrees during the race in terms of track temperature, scorching hot.
Spicy meatball out there, especially track temperature was scorching here in Brazil. Remember that. It becomes important later.
Where does Ducati stand in all this? Where does Ducati stand in all of this? I mean, they get a bike on the podium. I mean, that's good. You probably didn't expect to be Fabio Di Giannantonio leading the charge.
No, but he was excellent. I mean, pretty much from practice forward, he very rarely put a foot wrong. The most minor of mistakes let Mark through in the sprint, and Mark was able to steal that one from under his nose. But even when Mark got back around him on Sunday, he still was able to hold his nerve, shadow Mark the rest of the way. And then Mark made an error for reasons we will get into. Then you look at the other red garage. Francesco Bagnaia. Who the fuck?
He was absolutely nowhere this weekend. I think he qualified, what was it? I want to say 9th.
I know he didn't finish the Grand Prix. That was the only Ducati retirement. What do you think
happened in the Grand Prix?
They got 4 bikes in the top 10. Like, that's not.
Hey, what do you think he did in the Grand Prix?
What do I think Pecco Bagnaia did in the Grand Prix? I think while trying to push towards the front of the field, that he fell on his own and dropped the front of the bike.
Death, and then taxes, and then the Ducati tucks the front end.
Wow, I guess this one right to a T. God.
Yeah, scary one. That
they are giving him the Davi treatment. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he is going out of Ducati sad. He qualified, I think it was in 9th. In the sprint, he was as low as 13th at one point, and then early on in the Grand Prix, it's a quite scary crash. He tucks the front going into turn 1. That's
a fast one.
That's a 215 mile an hour braking zone, because the Guyana is the last corner is a 120 mile an hour corner on exit. And then by the time you're at the other end of the 1 kilometer long straight, you're doing 215. I think Mark topped out at 219 miles an hour this weekend.
He was drafting someone down into turn 1 at about that.
Yeah, 350 clicks, if you like your kilometers.
Pretty fast.
Instead, very quick. And Pecco tucked the front going into turn 1 under braking. It's a long turn 1 right-hander, and at that point, that is like the 5th straight right-hander you're going through, because from turn 11 on the previous lap, it's 7 straight right-handers all the way through to turn 4. Oh, and by the way, turn 4's got a bump in it. So turn 4 caused a lot of crashes in practice and qualifying as well. A lot of wreckage because the tyre's begging for mercy by the time you get to turn 4, and there's a bump in the apex. Isn't that great?
Yeah. More on the track surface in a moment. I just... Pecco has completely fucking imploded. The preseason looked so solid. He was putting together laps. He was quick. He felt confident in the bike. And the first qualifying session of the year, it's like we just took a time machine back to the last third of last year where he just started falling apart mentally.
The bad times of last year.
Did you hear what he said after the race in his post-race debrief? He said,
"Oh no, tell me more, Dre Harrison."
He felt like he was at the mercy of the bike. That's a hell of a phrase.
It's not great.
Doesn't sound great. I mean, it was a real mixed bag at Ducati across the weekend. Like I said, Diggia Antonio, fair play to him. He's good for a couple of these a year, weekend-wise, where he'll just be the best Ducati on track, and we'll just go, okay, cool. Is it
like 3 times a year, and then we'll go like, why can't you do this more often?
I mean, forget the Marquez brother for a second. Yeah. Forget the Marquez brother for a second. Fermin Aldeguer, first time back on the bike since coming back from injury, getting 8th. Like that's a productive day out in the office, and a day where Ducati just really isn't as much of the races as you'd like. Relative to Aprilia. See also Ayagura starting the season with back-to-back Grand Prix top 5s.
The Agura surprise is pleasant this year rather than unpleasant.
Yes,
I like
going after.
He's not been DQ'd from a Grand Prix like last year, but no, this is that was Agura's best weekend in MotoGP. He's always been good at Thailand because they test there so much. To do that in Brazil, where he's got back-to-back top 5 sprint and Grand Prix, really impressive from Agura. That's the type of shit that will stop the rumors flying, because there's been rumors floating around about Trackhouse in 2027 that they might, like Davide Brivia might try and get the band back together. I.e., maybe Johan Mir, the guy he won a world championship with back in 2020. Because I'm of the opinion that Trackhouse doesn't need to change a damn thing. Like they've got their lineup, quite frankly.
I mean, Johan Mir, why are you the way that you are? You are in a career make or break year, and I mean, there was no hope on that crash on Sunday.
Could be worse. He could still be Frankie Morbidelli, who is just here.
Yeah, who was the only Ducati rider slower than Pecco, pretty much consistently all weekend.
Heavy rumors he's out at the end of the year, and Fermin Aldeguer will be in a VR46 next year.
Interesting.
Man. Not a great... I guess it's like a kind of like, it's a decent enough half a day for our...
Well, because we know he's going to get a work spec bike.
Yes.
And
the third-year clause has been activated, so he will have a GP27 next year, no matter what. It's just going to be a matter of what color it's going to be in, whether it's blue or yellow. Because Grassini has said we can keep him for next year. Because I think some of the early rumblings were that Grassini might go back to Honda. That was the rumors that the race was picking up over the weekend. Davide Tardozzi basically said, we think they're going to stay. So who knows at this point? Honda are very keen to get 6 bikes on the grid. That might
more data.
More data means you rebuild this project quicker. I was thinking, okay, Rossini Honda reunion. I was thinking, okay, Tech 3 Honda reunion. And then I realized, oh yeah, Tech 3 was with Yamaha that whole time, not Honda.
Yeah.
Tech 3 at one point was the factory Yamaha team a long time ago.
It was. Also, it's also worth bearing in mind, Monster Energy might be out of MotoGP. Yamaha's factory team did get rid of the Monster Energy part of the sponsorship in their social media a couple of days ago. Very odd.
There's actually, there's a sort of news aggregator that I don't follow on Facebook, but because of what I view on Facebook, they appear in my feed. And they had mentioned something to this effect. Incidentally, they tend to be pretty much bang on. And what this would be is rider sponsorships are sticking around, but no team sponsorships anymore. And that also makes a degree of sense when you think both Marc Marquez is a Red Bull rider. even if the stickers aren't on his helmet.
Yep.
But also Pedro Acosta, Red Bull affiliate as well. Both of them then riding for Ducati's factory team next year.
Yeah.
It makes a degree of sense.
Absolutely. Like, it seems that rider sponsorships are the way to go rather than teams on the whole. And let's be honest, if you're back in the Yamaha factory team, you're not getting
TV
time. Exactly. Fabio. Oh, look, Fabio's here. Oh, Fabio's dead.
Oh my God. Fabio had that thing up.
Hey, Alex Rin's gotten the points. Alex Rin's gotten the points, baby. Hey, remember when he won 2023 in Austin, and that just turns out to be like one of the weird outlier wins over the past few years when you put it all in
the Honda decided to end his career as we knew it, like 2 rounds later.
Yeah. Matt points out in the chat, like, Iagura said he felt sorry when he passed Fabio Quartararo on the track because he knows the Yamaha has no power. Fabio Quartararo said after the race he was giving up 12 kilometers in the speed traps to the Ducatis.
I mean, that doesn't seem like much. It doesn't.
But it's not just that. Well, it's 8 miles an hour, but it's 8 miles an hour all the way up because we know what the Ducati does in the middle of its power band, which is kill everything.
Yeah,
it's a lot for a lap. It's a lot for a short lap, it seems.
I joked during the sprint when Fabio was
briefly
running second on the opening lap. I was like, so how long could Fabio hold off Mark? No.
No.
Yeah, I was just amazed we got a sprint in anyway.
Engine blew.
No, not a
anything
chance.
else. Yeah.
Anything else? Not too much, really. Diego Moreira got points at home. Good for him. He's looking like a very solid rider right now. He looks like he belongs on that.
I'm happy with him so far. Very happy with him.
He's pretty much matching Zarco, which is about as much as you can reasonably ask for right now. Just missed out on a point in the sprint. Was 10th over the line there, but points for him.
Points are points, man.
Also, is it sad that I'm in the chat that I'm seeing that Enea Bastianini got a point, and that's apparently worth celebrating?
Man, y'all used to have standards.
Enea Bastianini is a multiple Grand Prix winner at Rossini. Please get that band together. Well, if
y'all
nothing else,
standards, and now you don't. And like, I feel shit about it because he's clearly the wrong rider for the KTM. Speaking of KTM, because it's the only time we'll mention them all weekend, they arrived and they munched their rear tires. Just like the KTM of old.
That's Pedro Acosta in 7th, by the way. Bless him.
And doing everything humanly possible, and there was nothing left to get. Brad Binder chucked that thing up the road.
He was the best KTM. No surprise by a country mile over the weekend. Like, Maverick and Enea spent most of their weekend at the back of the field, and it was pretty miserable. Like, Tech 3's been the biggest disappointment in MotoGP for me so far this season, and it's not particularly
There's nowhere.
They're just nowhere. And Gunther, you got some work to do, and you got some hard decisions you got to make, buddy, because that team is cooked.
I'd argue what KTM has done to the bike in the off season is they might have gained a little bit of lap time overall, but stop me if you've heard this one before. For an orange bike with Red Bull stickers on it, only one dude can ride it, and he's leaving.
Yeah, Maverick Vinales basically issued an ultimatum to KTM saying, give me something here, or I'm just going to copy Acosta Stellup every week. Which is alarming. Oh, I heard he might have already broken up with Jorge Lorenzo, which I think is quite funny.
No one should be shocked at that.
No, those two personalities.
I didn't even know those two were an item of just like writer and consultant or whatever the hell.
Yeah, apparently, the thing, for those who don't know the story, Jorge Lorenzo was declared in like December of last year. He was going to sign on as Maverick's quote unquote performance coach. And my first thought was, this is either going to be a wonderful pairing or they're going to be at each other's necks by Kota. Turns out I was spot on.
No, you got it. You actually, you undersold it. It's already broken up.
They're trying
Dre,
to play go.
Dre, question. Who lasts longer, Jorge Lorenzo as Vinales' performance coach or Igor Tudor at his job?
I'm trying not to roast Igor Tudor because bless him, the poor man's dad passed away this past weekend, which is he's had a horrible week over at Tottenham. So
sad, but he is not the right coach for the Ham Spurs.
No, he really isn't. Bless him. We've buried the lead long enough here. Let's talk about. Let's talk about himself.
If I was a guy who was just a masochistic rage baiter online, I'd probably write something like this. Isn't 35 continuous laps of racing on a motorcycle strenuous enough regardless of the surface? Why do we need to subject modern motorcycles and racers to such a beating? If the track were to be repaved, lap times would plummet as bikes would be able to be set up properly and race the way they were built to race. Do we want to see fast motorcycles going fast, or do we want to see multi-million-dollar prototype motorcycles get the shit kicked out of them for no reason at all? As a longtime tourist of the sport, I've watched the surface deteriorate for days via Discord updates, and it's time for enough to be enough. Please, for the love of racing, repave Autodromo Nacional Ayrton Senna in Guyana. Please like and subscribe to my work.
Are you proud of yourself right now?
And now I think that's Ryan Eric King with an axe.
He's cutting.
Please fund my hobby through investing in my many properties that I can rent to you.
Yes, incredibly, this MotoGP race and this minor Sebring recap share a very common thread, but although not one that I think we were expecting going into the weekend. This entire weekend was marred with what we would refer to as environmental chaos. We had a unprecedented. I can't talk.
We had an unprecedented amount of rainfall. The week of the race led to a very muddy and dirty track due to the lack of drainage at the track. And on Saturday afternoon, after qualifying, an unreported old sewage system gave way on the main straight, leading to an enormous hole and a bad smell on the track. I'll let you know which one of these is true. There was an 80-minute delay to the sprint race, and Moto2 qualifying had to be moved to Sunday morning to let the quick-drying concrete fill up the hole. Then, with just 6 minutes until the warm-up for the MotoGP race, the main event, race direction declared a reduction of the race itself from 31 to 23 laps. Why? Asphalt breaking up at the complex between turns 10 and 12. So much so, Marc Marquez had to sit up the bike to avoid tucking the front of the loose asphalt, costing him third in the Grand Prix. There are other reports with Alex Rins, who has not had any good injury luck these last few years, having asphalt launched into his finger, along with Alex Marquez and Top Rack Razgatlioglu collecting pieces in their shoes. I'm going to let you all talk about this because I know y'all got some thoughts on this. This is crazy.
I'll handle
the thing is, right?
Yeah, you go on, get me first.
The thing is, when you go to Sebring, you know the surface is going to be shit. That's part of the appeal.
It's bug.
And
it's a feature, not a bug.
It's a feature, not a bug, because that is a torture test for prototypes, and the teams like it that way. Motorcycles don't really like that.
Right.
Take it from someone who unfortunately had to help someone up who ended up fine, thankfully, from a crash. This was about 4 years ago, leaving a restaurant near my house because I was getting into my car and then they low-sided their Fireblade on sand.
Oh, dear.
Thankfully, Fireblade was messed up. Guy was basically fine. This was shit. This was shit.
This everything about this just screams poor planning. Now,
Bush League.
Now, I want to go back to ground zero here. This Grand Prix was only officially announced 16 months ago. Not a long time at all, right? According to the Paddock Pass podcast, Guyana wanted World Superbikes to race here beforehand, so they could at least get an idea of what the track would hold up like under strain, i.e. obviously a full Grand Prix weekend, bikes on track, etc., etc. They were denied that opportunity. They were like, you're getting just a MotoGP race, you deal with it. Now, again, this is rain season in Brazil. And we got a unprecedented amount. We got apparently a month's worth of rain in a day. over there in Guyana.
I mean, we saw pictures of it, Dre. Like, we had a still shot from overhead on the track, and at the lowest point of the track was basically a valley full of water. It turned into a full-blown lake.
There was so much water that allegedly some of the Brazilian local media tried to claim it was AI, which was quickly disputed that it was a real picture.
Don't you love the Big 26?
Yeah, I love it when it's like, hey, you can now just look at any picture and go, that's AI, and there's not a plausible argument to deny it right away. It's crazy that, you know, the fabric of reality that we live in is being warped in real time. But no, they
open a pack for Sora, baby. Woo!
Anyway, yes, so they were able to get rid of the standing water, and the drainage at the track wasn't great, but they were able to call in extra people and they were able to get it done. The track was dirty, you know, a bit dusty in places, but they got away with it. It was safe enough to run. Friday was wet, but largely went off without a hitch. Just a few crashes here and there. You get on a wet session every once in a while. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Saturday, we had qualifying, that was all fine. Fabio Di Antonio puts it on pole, and then about 10 minutes after qualifying ends, I get a message in my Slack chat saying, Dre, there's a sinkhole on the track. And I was like, you what?
The hell?
There's a sinkhole on the track. And I said to Lewis, my head of editorial over there at Crash, you fucking what? And next thing you know, I'm seeing pictures from the local Brazilian press that obviously rolled up for this race, taking pictures of, for lack of a better term here, a 12-foot long sinkhole. It was at least 12 feet, maybe 15 feet. And there's people in there digging around. Like, we only found out on Monday that this was apparently a old sewage system that had been unreported in the initial observations when they were homologating the track. Not ideal.
Cam, this is why you call 811 before you dig 250 for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
We'll dig.
Just had to get that in there.
We'll dig you all.
Rinaldi and Klein. We're all regular car reviews fans here on M1.
Yes,
incline.
But if we go down this rabbit hole, it's gonna
rabbit hole like what was out on track. Yeah,
right, exactly. Right. So we got the sewage system unreported, and that's what's causing all this chaos.
Right. So normally you would put asphalt down that hole to fill up the gap, like it's a pothole on a standard road. The problem with that is that that's normally a 5-hour job. You need 5 hours for that to harden to the point where it's safe to walk on properly. MotoGP ain't got time for that because they've only got about 3 hours of sunlight left. Because as any motorsport fan will tell you, on a track that doesn't have floodlights on it, when the sun goes down, you are done. And basically, they had to put quick drying concrete down the hole instead to fill it up. They got it filled up and leveled off. Thankfully, this hole was off the racing line at the top of the straight, so it wasn't directly in the rider's path of racing line. They could just basically ride around it without it being a few trouble. For what it's worth, if this was on the racing line, we would not have raced.
Yeah, we would have had hashtag canceled too.
Exactly, but because it was
why
off
would
the
Aggregate
racing
UK do this?
Exactly, because it was off the racing line. Basically, this was fine. So, as mentioned, there was an 80-minute delay to the sprint. The sprint went off again without a hitch. Thankfully, everybody got home fine. That was that. And then I need to point out, I buried the lead a little bit in the description. On Sunday afternoon, we got the word about the race being reduced 6 minutes before the warm-up lap.
Yeah, we were on the grid. We were literally on the grid with all the teams and all the bikes.
We were on the grid 6 minutes before warm-up. before the warm-up lap or the formation lap, as I should say.
I was gonna say, this was not the warm-up session. This was the formation lap to start the race.
Yes, they could not have left this much later. This was apparently a combined call from the IRTA, basically the Manufacturers Association, and Race Direction, because they'd heard about the asphalt breaking up around about the end of the Moto2 race. They'd already apparently gone through with a broom to sweep off as much as they could, but by that point they'd realized this is falling apart.
It wasn't dust they were sweeping away, it was track.
It was literal asphalt, and that's when they made the call to reduce the race from 31 to 23 laps. Reason being, 23 is 75% distance. That is the minimum you can have for a MotoGP Grand Prix for them to constitute giving full points. It's why we had the scoring controversy for the Moto2 race in Thailand earlier this year already, because we were one lap short. Scoring errors. Don't you love a mini motorsport series? Anyway, yeah, so this is a true story. Enea Bastianini found out about what was going on about 2 minutes before the formation lap was set to start. It was so close to that warm-up lap happening that they weren't able to change tyres because they were going to go to put the softer rear on because of the reduced distance. They couldn't do it because they ran out of time, because they told the grid front to back.
Cam was putting his head in his hands the whole time here, and I'm just thinking, like, man, what a mess this was. And here's something that was pointed out soon afterwards, right? Because this was a disaster, and the fans here deserve better. They've been waiting for MotoGP racing for about 20 years to come back to their country, and it's a shit show like this. But think about this, Dre. This is the same group of people that let this course pass, but decided that Phillip Island just isn't up to the MotoGP standard anymore because its facilities are bad and it's out of the way. And this same group that's going to approve the proposed Adelaide Street Circuit for use in 2027.
And then that's before we get to anything along the lines of, the facilities at the track beyond the racing surface, such as toilets that didn't work, such as, minimal fan accommodations.
It was a stadium.
This was a race. Like, this is the kind of shit that we give IndyCar enormous amounts of grief over. And like, you're the top flight of motorcycle racing. You're owned by the same people who own the top flight of four-wheeled racing. This is really not good enough if you want to be taken seriously outside your own circles.
Uh-huh.
I need to remind everybody involved here, this is apparently, according to the Eyes of Liberty Media, a £3.5 billion sport. And the funny thing is, the new MSEG group, the MotoGP Sport and Entertainment Group, formerly Dorna, new president Chase Carey, the guy that used to be Formula One CEO, the guy who said when he took over Formula One, he wants 25 Super Bowls a year, putting the emphasis on putting on the best events in the world. Because let's not forget, if you're in the motorsport industry, you're in the event planning industry. There is no getting around that. That's what this is. This was not worthy of a world championship event. It just wasn't. This was unacceptable in every way. If you have a track that is falling apart in real time to the point where it is a danger to its riders, like Marc Marquez nearly found out when he tucked the front nearly coming into that penultimate corner.
He had to save it and stand the bike up.
Like, could you imagine how pissed off everybody is if the sport's biggest meal ticket injures himself on loose asphalt? It's a national scandal. Like,
what we got was a rock blasting Alex Rins right in the knuckle of one of his fingers.
Nasty.
And Top Rack, there's pictures, not for the faint of heart. And Top Rack picking chunks of asphalt out of his boots. Like, we're very lucky that a piece of asphalt didn't go through someone's visor.
We are very lucky in that sense. It's just, the whole thing just reeked of Bush League to me. And like, I get it. Like, there was a lot of damage control that happened after the race. The podium sitters all talked about how it was a great event and that the organizers did a really good job putting this all together and dealing with difficult circumstances. And we got a race off in the end. And as my man Lewis says on the Crash MotoGP pod, with the other podcast I host on MotoGP.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Please forgive me. But it was along the lines of, they'll forget about this, they'll move on, and allegedly there might be a resurfacing for this track for next year, which it should be, quite frankly, and allegedly MSCG has already checked Buenos Aires because they're returning there next year in 2027. They are trying to get out ahead of the curve because they do not want this to happen again. But no matter how you slice it, the whole thing reeks to me of they rolled up here a year early. And there was no
100%.
There was no reason for them to roll up in 2026 because what's the?
Of course, there was.
Well, money. You know, it's pure greed. Like we couldn't go to Termas Rio del Hondo in Argentina one more time. No, we had to go for the big fancy showpiece Brazil round, knowing we have 1.5 Brazilians on the grid with Diogo Moreira and Frankie Morbidelli. Who's half Brazilian, you know, for those who don't know.
I knew we were going for there.
And look, the turnout was great. I get it, because like they had 61,000 on race day. Like, that's a good haul, and the fans were fantastic. The atmosphere was great.
Brazil loves their bikes. I mean, we see that. Like, they have local championships. I was watching Alex Bauhaus fucking just stuff a bike around Sao Paulo a couple years ago in a fight for the lead in a local league there. I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah, I got a question.
That track would be super mega unsuitable for this, but at the same time,
I was just going to ask why they don't go to Interlagos.
Would you like to have a MotoGP crash down that main straight? Which is not straight.
Probably not, if I'm honest. And so that rules that out.
Like, Rio, where's the runoff?
You could try and recreate the Rio circuit in the aggregate, but you can't recreate what it once was because some of that's now football stadium. So at this point, you're kind of running low on options.
Yeah, that track has been reclaimed by the sands of time. And yeah, Interlagos, even before you get to the runoff problem, which, yikes. Just the bikes are so fucking fast there. I mean, you'd be an easy 220 down the main straight. And even with the runoff at the end of one there, that's still probably not enough if someone tucks the front. What I was going to say is, great turnout. They love their bikes.
Yeah.
That was never going to be the issue.
That was never going to be the issue. The thing is, like, you're chasing the bag. That's come at the cost of safety.
Yeah. And this track was not ready. Yes, they had mitigating circumstances. They did have a boatload of rainfall. But again,
don't schedule the fucking race during Brazil's rain season.
You've got flyaway rounds. You've got the flyaway period in the back end of the year. You could have easily ran this race in October if you wanted to. Where it's going to be colder and probably less of an issue, but you wanted it in the Argentina slot, right at the start of the year, where the first set of flyaways are, because that's how MotoGP calendars are typically organized. You get your flyaways at the front and you get your flyaways at the back. The middle of the season is reserved for Europe. The headline rounds in the European summer. That's been the pattern for some time now. And look, don't get me wrong, I get why it happened in this slot, but you've got to come better prepared than this. The whole homologation process needs to be questioned. And I get it, you can only double check for sure when you're actually there, but you need to be going in there early. Again, this has happened before. Why not do a tire test? You've done tire tests on new tracks before they've entered the calendar.
Why not do a tire test has been the source of so much frustration in MotoGP in the last 5 years.
Saving costs.
The teams just refuse to do it.
And then they want to act surprised when a track isn't fit for purpose, and then they roll up and go, oh, we can't race on it now. Well,
yeah, they don't want to do a tire test, and that has hamstrung Michelin's development this whole aero ride height device era. But it's because of the power the teams hold, as we've had to discuss on this podcast before, the sport can't make them do so. It it becomes a snake eating its own tail.
Billion-dollar enterprise, $100 solutions.
And
quick drying asphalt and concrete.
Quick drying asphalt on an asphalt that wasn't fit for purpose. And look, let's not forget, as we mentioned earlier, what's the next MotoGP race this weekend? Austin. Liberty Media's home turf. There's going to be a boatload of their executives and higher-ups at this race who are probably watching a MotoGP event for the first time. And I read David Emmett's fantastic work at Moto Manners, and he dropped a clanger in his post on Saturday. Allegedly, and I've not said this publicly until now, there's a lot of people in Liberty Media that apparently do not like this purchase. There's a lot of them that are apparently need convincing because there's a few of the higher-ups that are not convinced that this was worth doing, and that they reckon that Liberty massively overpaid on its $3.5 billion to buy MotoGP in the first place.
Well, that's the neat part. They did.
Just
that doesn't take
let
much
it happen.
speculation.
Because antitrust legislation in the world in general just doesn't exist anymore. It's just a nice soft roadblock.
It's a myth. Yeah, so,
more like guidelines than what you call actual rules.
Yeah, I mean, to wrap it up, I mean, this was completely unacceptable. There is no getting around
farcical.
it. And Brazil deserves better than this. It's the best motorsport country in the world, pound for pound, if you ask my opinion on it. They deserve to have a proper event, not having to look one eye over their shoulders in case the track falls apart. This was farcical, and this is not an event worthy of world championship status. And there needs the entire process, the entire weekend needs to be reviewed by the sport, and they need to figure out ways of doing this better in future. Because I guarantee you, they wouldn't be checking Buenos Aires right now if this weekend went off without a hitch. I can promise you that.
It feels like we're having too many close calls to not fall on the wrong side of one at some point, with track homologation being rammed through in here and in Formula One. Shit. In other series,
I mean,
it's just...
Look at the other examples. Balloton Park was last minute. They had already added a chicane to slow the track down, and we had the oversight of the camera stands with a Pedro Acosta flying KTM going to the background. Same happened with India in 2021 when we raced there for as a one-off that year, and that track was one rain shower away from being called off because the walls were far too close. If it rains, that race gets called. There's no way they run in wet conditions. They just about got away with it, despite the fact that Jorge Martin nearly had heat stroke.
The best way to prevent a close call like that is to just do your damn due diligence.
Sport's already dangerous enough as it is. Don't make it even.
And there's no avoiding that.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before. That's something that you have to make peace with as a motorcycle racing fan. This shit is absolutely insane to the normal man. We don't need any extra risk thrown in on top.
Agree.
Absolutely not.
Guys, there wasn't a lot of racing this weekend for us to talk about with F1 off this weekend. Same with IndyCar.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's okay. I mean, look, we did kind of forget that Formula E was racing this weekend. I don't even know what happened there. I heard it was a good race. Who won it?
Apparently a very good race. Antonio Felix da Costa won. I am pissed off because Mitch Evans was denied a chance to go for the win despite going 16th to 2nd because of team orders. I love Formula E. It's great.
Hey, NASCAR had a...
Pascal hairline common success. Despite doing nothing this year.
I mean... NASCAR was at Darlington, that was cool. It's not time for a regular NASCAR checkup, although Tyler Reddick is killing it. I mean, hey, it's not like we're going to have a whole segment on Sebring, right?
Here comes a new challenger!
Oh, how did that music get there? Damn. So before we get out of here, let's talk briefly about the IMSA 12 Hours of Sebring. A certain one of the three of us was down there again this year and insisted this segment go at the end of the show rather than at the start. Isn't that right, Rory James O'Connell?
I just thought it would be better for comedic timing to just not give the hint that we were going to talk about Sebring and then surprise, tack it on here. Call it the Sebring 12 Hours Expansion Pack or the 12 Hours of Sebring Expansion Pack. Interesting race. Porsche Penske Motorsport finishes 1-2, but the vibes are very interesting. Look, the two Porsche 963s in their 911 GT1 Mobile 1 throwback cars led 3/4 of the race. But all everybody is talking about is what happens at the end. What happens at the end, you got to roll back about 2 hours because a lot of the 12 Hours of Sebring is just surviving until it gets dark out. And then after that, all hell breaks loose. That's when you push. Porsche has dominated this race from about the start, I'd say a little bit after the start, till sunset, right? There's 2 hours to go. They are making so much energy on everybody else. They bring both cars into the pits. It is the number 7 car, the one with Felipe Nasr, Lauren Heinrich, Julian Andlauer, that has led the number 6 car, Kevin Estre, Lawrence Vanthor, Matt Campbell, for much of that time. Because the 7 car has priority in the pits, that also has been helping them get out of the pits and kind of staying ahead along with their pace. But on one round of pit stops, they both take fuel, they both take tires, and the number 6
7 did not take tires.
I have it on pit notes that with 2 hours to go, both cars took tires at the net stop where the 7 doesn't take tires and the 6 does. And that's what swaps them around with about 90 minutes to go when we have the first of our 3 full course cautions in the final 2 hours of the race. Then the race restarts. The number 6 car jumps back ahead. They swap positions, and then Felipe Nasr in the 7 car fires one up the inside of Kevin Estre in the 6 at Sunset Bend to retake the lead of the race, which he would not relinquish. So it's Porsche's 20th win at Sebring. It's a 1-2 finish in front of Roger Penske, who's the captain of the team. And oh, by the way, he's also the grand marshal of the event. But man, it is frosty in that press conference because Kevin Estre felt that they were going to have team orders to have the 6 and the 7 hold positions. And the reason why they're doing this is because they're trying to fend off the number 31, the Cadillac Whelen Action Express car, which is running third, trying to run them down. Really the only car that had a chance to run them down at the very end of this race. Felipe Nasr, on the other hand, wanted to go win the race. So he did. Dre, doesn't this sound a little bit familiar where you have two strong-willed drivers on a dominant team that are having an apparent communication breakdown on whether we're going to hold position at the end of the race or whether we're going to race to the finish, and it leads to a lot of strange, hurt feelings about it.
I can't imagine. I mean, as a Sebastian Vettel fan, I've never been in that position myself. As a fan of Red Bull racing, I would never encompass that sort of moment.
Multi-67?
Multi-6-7, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Cam, talk to me about it. Talk to me about it because
let's hear from you here. How did y'all make what should have been a completely routine result feel so messy?
I mean, not really.
Not really, but
I think those two could have hit each other, caught damage, and still run the field over. That's how busted the 963 was here.
Are you telling me it wasn't a little bit of a code brown when Felipe Nasr counterattacked on Kevin Estre?
He got by him clean, and then no one ever saw him again. He just took off. That's what I ultimately like. I think this is an enormous much ado about nothing, including from Kevin, because the call was to swap the cars because, in theory, with no yellow in the last hour, everyone needs to save a little bit of fuel to get to the end when they pitted. So that was the call. If Felipe wanted to ignore that and run himself out of fuel, be my guest. Felipe Nasr in the last hour of an endurance race. He's basically God at this point. He's the clutchest man alive.
Yeah, these are two of the top 10 prototype sports car racers in the world today, and I don't think either Kevin or Felipe are 10 or 9. I'm just going to put it out there and say it that way.
No, and the good news is quantitatively number 1 is also in the 7, albeit he didn't finish this race, because Lauren Heinrich, B-Pillar champion 2 races in a row.
You know what's
early
crazy?
Lauren Heinrich investment can make you money.
I 100% agree. You know, I had some people in the press. I had some people in the press room talk about this. You know, the whole Penske team orders angle, and they posited the theory that it's not ideal that the 7 car is getting the benefit of the doubt in this instance because the 6 car has a better lineup on paper. Yes, it is a more experienced lineup on paper. Yes, I love the hell out of those 3 dudes in that car. But Julian Andlauer and Lauren Heinrich have arrived.
Lauren Heinrich has more than arrived. I mean, I was a believer the minute he got into a GT3 car and started punching Antonio Garcia in the nose. Like, second round that he was in the Rexy. He is busted good. My biggest thing with this, 1, the green flag run never came. 1, because Antonio Fuoco is a terrorist, and we'll get to him in a little bit. But 2, because the number 912 Porsche in the GTD class, hold a radiator, came into the pits, was spewing water everywhere, and then went back out on track.
And you know how he did that, right? It didn't get caught on the on either the NBC or the international feed, but apparently the 96 Turner BMW stopped in front of him too quickly for Ricardo Pera to react, and that's how he got the hole in the radiator, and that's how they retired early from that race, which it could have been not only a Porsche Penske 1-2 overall, but Manthey could have won both GT classes because Grella won GTD Pro in a Porsche Customer Racing 1-2, and Manthey's GTD regular car almost won and didn't.
Yes, Manthey Racing, a customer team who is so customer they are 51% owned by Porsche AG. I digress. Customer. But no, the thing is, we got 2 yellows to bunch the field up late on. Fuel became a non-factor, and Kevin got 2 more cracks at him.
Yeah,
and
with newer tires. With newer tires on one of those stops. I mean, they both put them on, like, I believe they went to...
it was an 8-lap gap. It was an 8-lap difference in tires, which... Another element which we will talk about, the Porsche is a wrecking machine on the double stint. And that was only really a quarter of a double stint. I think Kevin does have reason to be pissed off. I also think he could have amended that himself and was unable to twice. He is what it is.
But
I've seen the reaction from people saying that the wrong car won the race that the 6 car would have won. And I have a hard time looking at the results where, yes, Porsche Penske Motorsport combined to lead 3/4 of the race. Most of those laps were led by car number 7.
Yeah.
If that's not a deserving winner, I don't know what to tell you. I get it. There's hurt feelings. People love the guys in the 6 car. That's totally fine. I'm just seeing it.
He got 2 more cracks at him on a restart and wasn't even able to keep him in sight because both times Nasr got the car up to speed and took off.
Right. I was going to say, would you even want Kevin Estre to carry out his own retribution on track anyway? We'd be having a different conversation if Kevin ignored a team order and then went back at Felipe Nasr and the 6 wins and we're having a different conversation in the press conference again.
Because they wouldn't be at the press conference.
Don't ask me how I know this.
Because they wouldn't be in the press conference. It would be 2 Cadillac teams because they would have finished 1-2 on the road. And then wanted to the back of the field because they ran too much camber in the car, but that's a whole other thing.
Whoops.
Yeah, I like how I had a fun discussion with in another server with noted Acura fan, friend of the show, and Wayne Taylor hater, day one, corrupt about this, and was like, we discussed, like, so what did Action Express do wrong? Because they were matched by Wayne Taylor. Oh, as it turns out, Wayne Taylor's car was illegal.
And also Action Express had a bit of an upsie because we had a Bamthor reunion under full course yellow, but not in the way that either the 31 car or the 6 car would have wanted, and the 31 car came off worse for it in the long run.
Heads down,
Cadillac hope spots.
Yeah, not ideal at all. I mean, the question that people are going to understandably ask after Porsche completely dominated this race from start to finish, do we have to talk about the BOP, Cameron Buckler?
Yes, Mr. Watkins. Yes. To describe this race in a sentence, this was a Porsche apogee. They beat the piss out of everybody in both pro classes. I think this is multifold. As a side note, the Mobile One 96-97 livery is redeemed. Because the last time we saw that livery in a major endurance race, well, it was in a fireball going out of the lead on Mulsanne in 97.
Yeah, we're not talking about the 98 car that won Le Mans. We're talking about the one that came before it. That was
slightly different livery.
That was actually kind of sort of based off of something you could drive off on the road.
The front half was a 911. The back half, less so. I digress. Good to see that livery redeemed. Livery of the year.
Already.
Yes. The thing is with the BOP is that the IMSA made a very conscious decision at Daytona. Everyone bought upgrades in the offseason, including Porsche. And I don't think people realize how heavy the Porsche was upgraded on the Aero, because we look at the BMW and the Cadillac, which are very visible upgrades. The second you see them, you can tell.
See it.
Yeah.
Everyone bought upgrades except for Aston Martin. And man, if you are an Aston Martin fan, it doesn't matter what series you're watching, you are in the shit these days. The Valkyrie is a machine that converts fuel to noise with no pesky side effect of pace these days.
And IMSA at the time decided, let it ride.
Let it ride. So we went into this race. Porsche gets a 20 kilo hit and a power hit. The other LMDH cars mostly get an equivalent 10 kilogram hit, and the Valkyrie gets left alone. And the result is that Porsche beat everyone 10 times worse than they did at Daytona. It was ridiculous.
Because I pointed this out when I wrote my race preview, is that, yes, they are heavier than they are at a completely different track to Sebring International Raceway. Fundamentally speaking, Daytona is different from Sebring, but they're also lighter than they were that race last year. And for some reason, it's just a big humming and hawing, because when people talk about balance performance changes, they only talk about from one race to the very next race in the calendar. They never factor in if you're bringing the same car to the same track a year later. It could be different, or
none of these cars are. And none of these cars are. And I think the biggest thing here is that Porsche is completely fucking busted on the double stint. They're better on their tires than everyone.
Yeah.
I actually think Acura has taken a step back in this regard. That car chews up rear tires really badly with the Evo package. They have work to do. That's before you get to the fact that Shank did their best Andretti Autosport impression and couldn't pit either of their cars worth a damn.
Tough day for Acura, tough day for BMW in the long run.
As BMW got sniped by the Inception Ferrari.
I don't know when we're going to talk about IMSA again. There is
probably not
chance,
until one of the big rounds.
There is a good chance Porsche Penske Motorsport goes on to win its third straight set of clean sweeping every GTP title, full season endurance that there is to win. There's also a good chance that this is the last race that they win, because when you're winning more than 50% of the races in a balance of performance category, it is a little bit problematic for the other stakeholders who have agreed to this. And as my coworker Marshall Pruitt points out, Porsche is really just going like, we don't give a fuck about that you can see the advantage that we have. And also follows it up with, You remember when Jimmy Conway and Goodfellas, you remember after the Lufthansa heist and how people were moving after they took all that money that was going to go in the currency exchange?
Mm-hmm.
And then how some of those people suddenly stopped spending all that money extravagantly, often in grisly fashion.
Yes. I expect it. I expect Porsche's going to get clubbed over the head with BOP, but at the same time, they've kind of turned this car into something that's mostly immune to it.
Oh,
because tire wear, you can't BOP.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
it's the intangibles, and it's also watching the footage. They could get back to the throttle over the bumps a meter or two ahead of everybody.
Yeah,
and that is an unpoliceable advantage at Sebring.
Yeah,
we saw it last year, where like the first 4 races, BMW had an enormous BOP advantage. They were fighting with Porsche. They couldn't live with them over a race distance.
Mm-hmm.
The only counter to that is just by putting a fuckload of weight on it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Which is what they did last year, is they just took all their power away and
20 kilos.
Put a pile of weight on top, and then they still almost won Detroit. They still double podium Detroit.
They still went on to clean sweep every championship on the table, despite all of this suffering and all of the struggles, and it's just not fair. Why does this always happen to us, the most successful, Mark, in the history of endurance sports car racing?
Oh, them brothers starving.
We're eating good over here. I also think it's a bit different to the situation that happened last year in WEC, when we all looked at the BOP table for Qatar and went, why have they done that? And then exactly what you thought was going to happen happened, and then nothing changed for about half a year. And then they started throwing haymakers at the cars every race. So you had a different dominant car 3 different weekends in a row in the second half.
There's 2.5 cars that I think that are like top tier in the prototype class. It's the 963, it's the 499P, and pending when we actually see it in a race, because remember, we didn't start the WEC season this week. We're starting it next month in Imola. The upgraded TRO 10, I can't believe it's not a GRO 50 Evo. I mean, those 3 are just like clearing away. They've got the intangibles to be like the 3 best cars in the championship. You probably could put Cadillac like a step behind them.
Well, and we haven't seen what this Cadillac is going to do in WEC trim, because it is, again, a massively changed car this year.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
What they did last year to counter some of those cars is just put a fuck ton of weight and take their power away, which is what they did, and Toyota were nowhere until the last race of the season when they got thrown a bone. Like,
they were really scared of Toyota last year. They were really scared if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile off them, basically.
Yeah. And so they made sure that they took everything from them at every stage. This, I think, was more of a shock to the system for everyone, because the BOP changed. Relatively speaking, they got the worst BOP, and they had a clean 3/10 on the field.
Yeah, Renger van der Zande said during the race, with their cruising, to describe the Porsches, like, they knew there was nothing he could do to stop him.
Yeah, Jonathan Duguid even said it before the race. It's like, we're not happy about it, but we can work with it. And boy, did they work with it when they are lifting and coasting in places that other cars aren't, and they're still kind of pulling away. Why on earth did Paulie get stabbed in the back of the head with that ice pick? It just blows my mind, Dre Harrison.
Don't get it.
So, next time we'll see them is actually coinciding with IndyCar at the Grand Prix of Long Beach, but that's a few weeks out. Let's get the hell out of here.
Let's go.
I think before we do that...
Oh, yeah, that's
RJ.
right. Time permitting for one more thing.
Go on, you can have it.
Antonio Fuoco is the craziest man that I've seen ever drive a Ferrari, because he almost single-handedly, because I know that's a team effort to win any endurance race, right? He almost single-handedly won a race that he tried desperately to lose, not once from avoidable contact with another car that's not even in its class, but twice with another car that's not even in its class. And oh, by the way, the other car that he hit That's his Ferrari hypercar co-driver, Miguel Molina, that he hit on the second incident that got him a drive-through penalty.
In a negative percentage move. And I like how the first penalty, he's just like, what did I do? And it's just a video of him killing someone.
I would have loved to have seen Little Wadu's blood pressure in the back of the carriage as that was going on. Going, what is this motherfucker doing?
So naturally, because of all the full course yellows, the 21A, of course, Ferrari 296 gets another crack at it. And on the final lap, the leading Heart of Racing Aston Martin Vantage makes a bit of a bobble through the final sector and lets Fuoco sneak by for him, Lilo Wadu, and Simon Mann to get the win in GTD. And he came to talk to us after the race, and it felt like he had just been told his dog got run over. Because he was not happy about any of it. Like,
in my
Antonio,
Jag.
he won the race. But it's just like, I'm so pissed about all these penalties, dog. I get it. That's got to be like the craziest thing I've seen. Well, no, the other craziest thing is the thing that was on the guy's shirt that I'm not going to repeat on air. It's Sebring. What do you expect?
What I would say is Antonio Fuoco generated significant main character energy in the good and bad ways that you can in an endurance race.
Also, whisper it quietly. Lilo Wadu is racking up major endurance wins, and I think it's only going to be a matter of time before she's the first woman in a modern hypercar.
There's a possibility. I think she might be trending around the same place Dorian Pan is right now.
Yeah. I'm not saying like top 10 GT3 driver in the world, but what I am saying is she's not anywhere close to like bottom 100, bottom 250. She's earning that reputation that she's building quickly in these longer races.
That's a bad mother trucker in that Ferrari. Well done her. Because again, we have representation is down in sports car racing. It angered me seeing Rahul Frey announced as
Rahel Frey is going to be one of the managers of Team WRT W4. Sarah Bovey's going to be Grand Marshal of Maz. Like, that's cool. I'd like to see Sarah Bovey
a car.
Right, exactly. She could be Grand Marshal in the car.
Get her in a car. End of discussion.
Real.
We have enough room for that shit. Let's figure something out, people. Right. 3 episodes coming up over the next week and change or so, because all 3 of our major series are running this weekend. In Formula 1, it's the Japanese Grand Prix. Enjoy it while it lasts. It's going to be the last F1 race for 5 whole weeks afterwards. So, hey, it's Japan. What could possibly go wrong in these cars, right? Oh, God help us. MotoGP.
Why would you say that?
MotoGP is at Austin at the Circuit of the Americas. Marquez land. Can he finally break the 5-year cold spell despite being so good around there? We'll have to wait and see. And IndyCar has the earliest time it's ever raced at Barber at the end of March next weekend. Say hi to Georgina for us if you're down there and enjoy that one. Alex Palou will be odds-on favourite. Can't imagine why. So all of that.
Bring back the HRC livery.
All that in about the next 10 days, which is roughly the amount of time taken to give Kevin Simpson a penalty after Arlington. Who knew? Until next time, I've been Dre Harrison, they've been Cam Buckley and RJ O'Connell. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time. Sayonara.
Still, it could be worse.
How could it possibly be worse?
It could have been the start of that Pilot Challenge race. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of damage here at the mighty Hendricks Air Depot.
They didn't respect the bombs.
How good were Marco Bezzecchi's odds to win the Brazilian Grand Prix this past weekend? Let's say 7-1? Welcome back to Motorsport 101.